Alright people, let's get into putting some content on the home page. I think for home pages, obviously it depends what the content is, but on ours what we're going to do is do some kind of a dashboard layout with some cards with high level information. So let's just do a generic kind of card based layout. So in order to do that, we're going to have to create a new component or two. Right, so let's create first of all a card component. We go to our components here. Let's just add one called card. We can create the docs here. Right, and we can start to build it. So the card, well, what is the card going to be? We don't necessarily know, but maybe we can create a pattern, a basic pattern for it. Clearly, usually we'll want to be able to have a title of what it is, possibly an icon, and some options to delete, move, and so on. So let's put a frame here just for now. So let's create a frame. This is going to be our card frame. Inside we're going to actually put a title and some, we're going to need a title and some icons and possibly an icon for the left hand side here, a title and some icons on the right, maybe a drop down menu. And I think for this we can quite easily use our pip component. So if we go to our assets, and you can replace this later if you want a different pattern, but let's try and keep everything to a minimum. So okay, we've got our pip here. We said we might want a left icon and we probably want some right icons. I can't remember. Yes, we've got to set it then. So we're going to put that here, for example, and we're going to stretch it there. Now we're going to use auto layout basically soon, but in fact, so let's just do it now. Go back to the file so you can see what's happening. This is going to be called a card. I mean, you can call it whatever you want basically, but I should name this docs so it's less confusing, and I put the underscore so it doesn't think it's something to be exported, so we don't get confused between this frame and this frame. This is our component frame. I'll make it a component now, just so that it's clear. See, it's purple. Inside we've got our pip, which is just our header, and we could call that header, or we could create a new component called a header. We can do that later. Let's just make the things we want and then we'll figure out how to improve them. That's the beauty of the design system. Okay, so we have a set width at the moment and we might not want that. This one, we'll need the auto layout for sure. So we are also going to, because we want this to fill, the pip should fill, it does. Then we have to go inside and we're probably going to have to make the text fill so it pushes the icons to this. It gives us more space for the text, and the icons can go on this side. Now we might not want this one, we might. This might be a collapse icon, and this one will be, let me zoom in to 100%. This one will be the icon of the particular content. And now what we want inside the body here is probably an instance, and we did make one of those previous videos. So if I search for, yep, we called it an instance. I'm going to drag one in. We're going to put it underneath. This one is also going to fill. It has a minimum height just to get us started. I mean, the content is going to vary. This instance, at the moment, it's kind of plain. We don't know it's there. We have to assume it's there. We could give it some styling so that, you know, users know, designers know that it is a instance to be replaced. We could do that at some point if we find that's an issue. As you can see, we've got some padding here, but it's using 10, which is incorrect according to our spacing options. We can either create a gap because we want a gap between there, or we can make them touch and then we'll put the gap inside whatever the content is. And that's the one I'm going to choose actually. Choose to keep it flat. And then whatever's in here, which will be our content instance, we will add padding to that because it might be the case we want side to side. We want more flexibility. Okay, now we have our basic setup of a card and we can actually use this. And we're going to have to create some content for inside it. Now we also would need to give it some styling. So we could, for example, add a fill. I believe Do we have any colors? No, we don't have anything for our card background at the moment, so we would need to add something if we want one. Let's add a color background, color card BG. You don't have to do this. It's up to you how you architect. Of course. So let's see. Let's add a grey 90 here background for now. And then I'll apply it here in the fill. This isn't beautiful, but we're going to fix it later. So, oh, that's curious. Why didn't it? The background here, because this has a background of white. That's right. That's right. Which probably we do not want. So let's go to our component here and let's remove the background. We just want the box, really. Let's return to the instance. There we go. And let's add our usual rounded corners. Now we can tweak this at any time, and we will beautify everything later on. For now, this is fine. We can change the size as we see fit, as we need it according to the content. But for now, this is our basic default card. So now what we can do is we can create a dashboard layer by just compiling these. And that, in my mind, is a pattern. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to call it, well, there's many ways you could call it, but I might just call it a grid layout like this, simple enough. And in here we're going to have to call our card component. There it is. Okay. And we're going to want a couple of these. Now, there's various ways you can do grid layouts in Figma. It's not awesome for creating out of the box, for creating grid layouts, Figma, that is true. So let's just keep it simple for now, and then we'll change it later if we need to. So these are going to have to be a row. This is going to be a row. I'm just going to call it a row. And the reason we want to do this is so that we can fill these inside there. Okay, and then we can duplicate this row, and then we'll put those in an auto layout, and we'll put them down, and then we're going to fix the padding. So we want to add our spacing token, whichever one you see fit here. 12, let's use 16, which is M exactly. Let's keep it simple. And this one we're going to call it, let's just call it grid layout, although I might prefer to call it layout.grid, like this. And the benefit of that is that when you create variants, it will automatically rename the variants using whatever's behind the slash. You would have a layout component, and then the variants would become this grid. So inside here we have the wrong gap, so we do have to fix this M, and that will make everything nice and neat. Everything is definitely 16 pixels. This is a very basic grid component, right? And we can elaborate this at any time. As long as we've got the reference, we can now use it. So let's just take a copy with Command C, and now we're going to have to start adding something to our home page. Now let's see. If you remember, we're going to have to put that inside this instance here of the home page. So we're going to need a new page. I don't think we have profile here, so that was this. And depending on how you want to structure, you could create, instead of patterns, you can create pages too. And this is the atomic system, kind of invented by Brad Frost. So you could create a template or a pages. Template would be the, say, grid, for example, layout. So that's template. Or you could create a page which would be the home page. Right, so let's do that. Page home. And because the page is going to be quite complicated, let's paste our grid in here and let's give it a title. The title will be, let's just call it home for now. And then these will have to be auto layouted, of course. And let's give it a, and let's make sure this is medium, but I do believe we have, we might have to create a large here too, of course. For now, let's keep it like that. Zoom, So we have home and we have some dashboard items here, and then this we're going to call it page or view. I mean, there's many ways you can do this. I'm going to call it page home. And then if we go to our prototype in here, we're going to want to replace this instance with page home. There it is. And then we have it here. And then we of course have to fix it according to the context. So we're definitely going to want some padding here. There's not enough padding, so let's add some padding top and bottom. Let's just use default for now. We want to make sure this is fill, and whatever's inside it is also fill. And there we have a very basic layout. Now, of course, like I say, this is not pretty because we have to keep elaborating it. But that's the way we can start to fill out our content. Now we're going to build out on the content and that later on. This video is now 11 minutes and I'm going to drop off so that we can carry on with our next lesson. See you in the next one.